What happens when you mix moonshine, dynamite, a whole heapin' helping of mutated bears, and one pissed-off cryptid named Trader Red? Well, the Baileys are about to find out. The Dead Boone Forest is full of surprises, and our intrepid travelers have only begun to scratch the surface. With a long and winding road ahead, they have no idea what dangers lie around the next bend. Red was back home, except this time she hadn't gone off with the caravan of Shine across the border to North Carolina. She could only watch, helplessly, as her ma and pa were gunned down and the rest of her kin blown up or worse as the Reavers turned what was supposed to be a peace meeting into a slaughterhouse. She tried to scream, to do anything, but her arms were held tight. When she looked up at who was holding her, all she saw were two burning sets of red eyes. A piercing scream brought Red's eyes back to the front. There, emerging from the fire, was a hulking figure, dragging a woman's body towards her. Unable to move or speak, Red could only watch as the figure loomed over her. In its hand was a wicked-looking blade. Its red, glowing eyes bore into her as it raised the blade far above its head. Time seemed to slow as the figure smiled. The blade came down, and all Red could do was wait for the end.
Red! Red! Wake up!
Red awoke with a start, her hand lashing out, nearly removing JD's head from his shoulders, but she pulled back at the last moment when she recognized the young man. Looking around, she was back in the lodge, but the smell of smoke lingered.
Wait, smoke. Why do I smell smoke, darling?
The bears are coming this way. Pa heard them, and now we can smell them.
All right then, we stick to the plan. Y'all remember what to do, right?
Ma, Buck, and the twins are already down with the Brahmin. Pa and Grandpa are outside. This is crazy, right? How are we not gonna get eaten?
It's just like Rabbit Run, darling. Except instead of ferals, it's bears. Really big bears. I told y'all, if we don't end them here, they'll be dogging us wherever we go. Just so happens that this is the only way I can think to do that.
I hope you're right, Red. I really do.
Red gave JD a wink, then grabbed old Percy from the bedside and went downstairs. The smell had gotten stronger, and Red could feel the vibration through the floor. They didn't have much time. She went over and checked the little, well, maybe not so little, surprise they had in store.
Damn shame to have to waste so much shine, but hopefully it'll do the trick.
Satisfied with their work, Red hurried outside to where the Bailey men were standing.
Y'all ready?
As ready as we'll ever be. I have no idea what this scout Master Shia was into, but we found a few sticks of dynamite in the shed behind the still when we were scaring up those flares you asked for.
Not in the best of shape, but I expect they'll blow up just fine.
I'll take what we can get, darling.
Red's ears perked up and she could hear the approaching pack. She hoped their plan worked because, well, they'd had to. There wasn't a backup, and as far as she could tell, there was nowhere else to run.
Amos, time to go. When you hear the fireworks, you hightail it down the road a ways. Y'all keep the young'un safe, and me and Clayton and JD will be along presently. Just as soon as we deal with our bear problem.
I'd say don't do anything stupid, but...
Too late for that, Amos. Just tell Darlene that...
Tell her yourself, Clay. Take care of JD. And Red, good luck.
Amos and Clayton shook hands while JD reluctantly accepted a hug from his grandpappy.
I do expect to see y'all soon. Real soon. And in one piece.
The old man turned and started jogging back around the lodge. Clayton checked his rifle, then turned to Red.
Well, we'll cover you the best we can from above, distract the ones we can, but it's mostly on you.
It was my plan, darling. I can move a lot faster than you two, and I owe JD anyways for using him as bait the last time. Just make sure you shoot them bears and not little old me.
Wouldn't dream of it. You're a lot prettier than those bears.
Why, JD, was that a compliment, darling?
The young man ducked his head, but he couldn't entirely hide the heat in his cheeks.
Oh, we got you, Red. Just don't go dying on us, okay? I'd hate to break the news to the twins.
I wouldn't dare disappoint those little terrors. All right, they're close. Time to make some noise. I'll draw them to me. Just keep a sharp eye out if they try to come on around.
Slinging old Percy over her shoulder, Red tipped her horns to Clayton and JD, took a flare in hand, and jogged out towards the end of the camp. She could feel the vibrations in the ground. The bears would be right on top of them, and all Red had was some flares, her rifle, and a plan so crazy it would have made Uncle Remus proud. As JD and Clayton took their positions, each one manning a window, they could see Red threading her way through the cabins towards the outskirts of the camp. She was supposed to get the bears' attention, then run like hell, leading the pack back through the camp and right into the trap they'd set for him. At least, that was the hope. The bears were hungry. The instinctual fear of the fire that drove them from the cabins couldn't overcome the insatiable need for meat and bone. The pack had consumed nearly every living thing they had encountered, mutated or not, leaving very little to sustain them now. The Alpha, wounded and enraged by the Molotovs, led the pack back to the camp. They would have come back sooner, but one of the other bears, sensing an opportunity, had attempted to usurp the Alpha. The fight for leadership had been brutal and brief, and after the larger bear had dealt with the upstart challenger, the rest of the pack had feasted. But even the meat of their former brethren had only been enough to remind them of their mostly empty stomachs. The smell of cooked food and fresh meat was enough to drive the mutated bears into a frenzy, and this time they would not be denied.
And here we go.
The bears broke through the tree line and immediately set their sights on the red-headed woman standing in front of the cabins. The Alpha roared, charging forward, with the rest of the pack close behind. Red waited for barely a second, gauging the bear's speed before turning and running in the opposite direction. The ground rumbled as the huge animals chased after Red. Even as Red dodged around the old log cabins, the bears just charged straight through, exploding the timbers, and, as planned, the barrels of Moonshine Clayton, JD, and Amos had stacked in each one. The grain alcohol splashed everywhere, including all over the galloping bears. Clayton and JD started taking pot shots at some of the bears, the ones who lagged behind and didn't seem quite so intent on eating little old Red. Their shots drew little blood, but they were irritating enough to spur them back into the chase. Red ran as fast as her feet could carry her, which was plenty fast, but even with her extras, she couldn't run forever. She glanced behind her and saw that big Alpha still close behind, all riled up and meaner than a Tennessee tornado, as her pa used to say. Another cabin blew apart behind her as a pair of the creatures tore through it, spraying moonshine over the broken timbers, and more onto the bears themselves.
Not many left. Just gotta keep this up for a bit longer.
Red turned right, leading the bears in a second circle around the camp. This was the tricky part, because she weren't sure if they'd all follow, or what shape the ground would be in, but she needed to put a little more space between her and those bears for what was coming next. It was impossible for Clayton and JD to track all the bears, not in all the chaos and dust of the stampede through the cabins. They fired off a few shots, but soon gave up, unwilling to shoot blind and hit Red by mistake. Instead, Clayton handed JD one of the sticks of dynamite, along with two of the flares.
You be ready, son. When she gives the signal, you light that fuse and throw!
JD tried not to look terrified, watching intently for Red, and gave a silent prayer that she'd soon appear out of the night. Another cabin crumpled under the weight of a charging bear, this one coming in from the south. Red pushed herself just a little faster, barely outpacing the sweeping claw. The smell of moonshine was strong, real strong, as who knows how much of it had now been spread throughout the camp. Making her final turn, Red caught sight of the Alpha. It was baring its teeth and moving at a good clip. It was going to be close, very close. Running as fast as her legs would carry her, Red ran back towards the lodge, crossing into the circle in front of the big building, waving her hand over her head.
That's it! Throw it, JD!
Lighting the flare with one hand and pushing the flame to the fuse, JD brought his arm back, aiming behind Red, and threw the stick of dynamite as far as he could, quickly followed by Clayton's own. Flipping end over end, the old sticks of dynamite landed amongst the destroyed cabins, and what followed gave a decent impression of hell on earth. Red might have miscalculated just a little. Whatever the Scoutmaster had used for their shine was even more potent than she expected. The dynamite set off a chain reaction of explosions, setting fire to wood and bear alike, as any barrels that remained intact went up like bombs of their own. The blast was enough to lift Red from her feet, throwing her onto the front porch of the lodge and smacking her head against the front doors.
Ow.
Above, Clayton and JD brushed broken glass from their clothes and tried to make sense of the chaos outside. The plan had worked. The entire camp was aflame as the explosive moonshine consumed everything. The mutated bears had either been killed outright by the blasts or were set alight. With the entire camp now ringed in flames, the bears had nowhere to go, and they were consumed, roaring to the last. Then, something else moved.
Oh no! Paul, look!
Oh, shit!
The ring of fire seemed to part as the Alpha strode forward. The explosions had stunned the beast temporarily, but it had quickly recovered, now more frenzied than ever, seemingly immune to the pain of its many wounds. Red tried to get to her feet, but her head was swimming and the world spun around her. One of the other bears, running in circles as the fire ate away at its body, crashed through the debris of another cabin and kicked off another barrel of moonshine. The explosion blew the bear clean apart, but also spread flaming alcohol onto the roof of the lodge, which quickly caught alight.
Damn it, it's gonna go up like a tinderbox. Come on, we gotta go!
What about Red?
We'll grab her and get the hell out of here.
The Alpha set its eyes on Red. Nothing else mattered except getting its claws and teeth into the flesh in front of it. Red barely made it to her knees when she finally recognized the death charging towards her. As the beast smashed its way through the porch, only her enhanced reflexes let her roll aside, and the creature blew through the wooden doors. Red didn't emerge unscathed, however. The Alpha was too big to stop on a cat, but managed to sideswipe her as it blitzed past, sending her sprawling into the lodge as well. Just as Clayton had feared, the old lodge was a matchbox, and the fire was spreading quickly.
Oh crap! There's still a bear!
No kidding, where the hell's Red?
Half blind from fire and smoke and finding itself in unfamiliar circumstances, the frenzied Alpha started tearing through the first floor of the lodge, seeking its prey. Clayton and JD squinted into the chaos to look for Red, trying not to draw the creature's attention. Finally, JD spotted the young woman. Red had dragged herself behind one of the large leather couches, but looked hurt. With the building burning down around them, there wasn't much time. JD looked at Red, then to the bear, and made the only decision he could.
Paul, when I tell you, you get Red out of there.
What?
Just get her. I'll be right behind you.
Clayton didn't have time to protest or wonder just what the hell his son was going to do, because at that moment, JD jumped up and ran in front of the Alpha, firing his rifle right into its face.
I'm right here. Come and get me, you big dumb animal.
Clayton could only watch in horror as JD fired again and ran back towards the cafeteria, into the fire.
Oh, if he dies, so help me!
Jumping up himself, Clayton ran over to where Red was lying on the floor. She was still disoriented, having taken not one but 2 whacks to the noggin, and her leg was bent in a direction God never intended.
Darling?
Clayton scooped Red up in his arms, doing his best not to hurt her any more than she already was. Frantically looking for J.D., Clayton couldn't see anything but smoke and more fire, but he could still hear the thrashing of the bear. Saying a short prayer for his son, Clayton turned and started running through the burning lodge. Red's eyes finally started to focus, pain having a way of burning through such fire. Her leg felt like it was on fire, and she still had a few cotton balls in her head, but she realized something was missing, something important.
Oh, Percy.
No time to go back for it, Red. I'm sorry.
Red struggled, but Clayton held her tight. To him, a rifle wasn't worth a life, and he still had his son to worry about. The entire lodge was now on fire, and the rafters were starting to come down. Dodging debris, Clayton finally got to the back door, just as the roof started to collapse. Clayton got clear, running a few dozen yards away from the lodge before turning back around. The lodge had become a towering bonfire. The flames illuminated the whole camp. Tears streaked his face, a product of the smoke, and the realization that J.D. was still in there somewhere.
J.D.! J.D., come on, son, come on!
That was when Red realized they were alone, that J.D. had stayed behind so she could get out.
What did you do, darling?
With a groan, the whole second floor of the lodge fell into the first, and that was the end of Camp Turtle. On the horizon, the sky was beginning to brighten, the first indication that dawn was approaching. Red looked up at Clayton, and she could see the pain in the man's eyes.
I don't.
J.D.?
Stepping out of the fire, J.D. emerged, a bit singed and covered in soot, but the young man was alive. And somehow, he was carrying old Percy with him.
Hey, Paul. Red. Sorry if I gave you a bit of a fright. That stupid bear damn near caught me. Then the roof fell on it. And I found this on the way out. Figured you might be needing it.
J.D. handed old Percy back to Red. She cradled the rifle in her arms, a tear running down her face. She looked back up at J.D. with a fresh pair of eyes.
Much obliged, darling.
J.D. just smiled.
Son, damn! But don't you ever go doing something that stupid again. Oh, at least not without warning me first. Do you know what Darlene would have done to me if you'd gotten eaten by that infernal bear?
Sorry, Paul. I figured we didn't have time. And you would have said no or tried to do it yourself.
Damn straight I would have. Oh, it's been one hell of a night. Let's get back to the others. Just because it's morning don't mean we're not still in the middle of this damn forest.
Ain't that the truth? Gotta take a look at this leg, as I swear it ain't supposed to be doing that.
Clayton carried Red while J.D. stayed close, just in case anything had survived, but their luck held and nothing followed them. Amos, Darlene, and the kids were exactly where Red had told them to go. They'd been worried sick, watching the massive fire, and only breathed a sigh of relief when the 3 stragglers showed up. They found shelter in a wrecked RV, and while Clayton and Amos kept watch over the Brahmin, Darlene and J.D. tended to Red's wounds. As J.D. wrapped up her leg, finally setting the bones with a splint, Red changed her mind about the young man.
Maybe he ain't such a pain in the ass after all.
Greetings, people of Earth. My name is Shmo Brannigan. I have hacked into this RSS feed with a promotional feature for the Wizard Scroll podcast, transcribing in 3, 2, 1.
Hold on, let me unfurl this wizard scroll real quick.
I'm free! I'm finally free!
Bob, is that you?
Ugh, I ain't your mom anymore, kid. I'm a skeleton now. Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Jerry. Smell you later, loser. I hate my life!
Holy crap, wrong half. We've talked about this 17 times already. Your constant outbursts are not freaking sweet at all, and they need to stop.
Hello? Welcome to the Sorcerer's Slice. Can I get a name for the order?
Kid, you gotta make the order. They don't let me come here anymore.
What?
I was banned from coming here 74 years ago for cutting bad checks. Please, they'll recognize my voice. You have to order.
All right, fine.
The Wizard Scroll is available on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, and wherever else fine podcasts are found. This concludes today's promotional feature.
After spending a few hours recuperating from the night's events, the Baileys had finally gotten back on the old scenic road, winding away from what was left of Camp Turtle. The smell of the fire, along with the stench of burnt bear flesh, lingered in the air for some miles. But besides the ever-present grayish trees and scraggly brush, there wasn't much to see along the way southwest. The twins were currently riding on the shoulders of their pa and grandpappy, having been given the task of being lookouts for whatever else might be waiting for them further down the road, while Darlene and Buck kept watch on their Brahmin, coaxing the big pack animal to keep moving. It wandered from one side of the road to the other, using whichever head was closest at the time to grab a mouthful of brush. J.D. and Red? Well, they'd managed to come to their own arrangement. Thanks to Red's extras, her broken leg had already begun to heal, allowing her to put a bit of weight on it, and J.D. had fashioned a makeshift crutch from a couple of fallen tree limbs and a strip of cloth. It weren't the most comfortable thing in the world, but it did allow Red to walk, with J.D. hovering nearby, just in case.
It could be worse, right?
She owed J.D., not only for saving her behind, but pulling old Percy from the fire, too. It was a kindness she wouldn't soon forget, and like her ma had always said, ill folk always paid their debts.
You doing okay, Red? Need anything?
It's fine, darling. Leg will be better in no time, and trust me, I've been through worse.
J.D. still looked a bit concerned, but smiled anyway and continued his hovering, barely taking his eyes off of his charge to glance down the road. The old maps from Camp Turtle had helped point them in the direction of where they all hoped they'd find shelter. The Blue Heron mining community hadn't been too far away, an old tourist attraction. The pictures in the guidebook Clayton had found amongst several other brochures in the lodge made it look substantial, an exhibit of what mining had been like when the first roughnecks had broken ground in the region in the middle of the 19th century. The group had started seeing signs along the road, which at least meant they were headed in the right direction. A bit further down the road, the terrain started to flatten out, and they could hear the murmur of a river not too far off in the distance.
Whew. About time. My legs ain't up for much more walking without a break.
You and me both, Amos.
The prospects of getting some rest put a bit of pep in everyone's step, but Red sensed something was a bit off. She caught a whiff of something that shouldn't have been there.
Whoa. Hold up there, darlings.
What is it, Red?
Not sure, but I don't think we want to find out the hard way. Y'all just give me 2 shakes of a mole rat's tail there, just to be safe.
Amos and Clayton tried to see what Red had seen, but the road ahead looked clear, with just a few piles of debris here and there before the road appeared to open up into a clearing. Red hobbled forward on her crutch, with J.D. only a couple of steps behind.
I don't see anything.
Red looked down the road, then across to the brush on either side. That's when she saw it.
Dang. That is one heck of a no trespassing sign.
Huh? I still don't get it.
Stay right here, darling. Don't move an inch until I tell you.
JD was confused, but had seen enough not to question Red's ability to sniff out something bad. Limping forward, the young woman was careful with each step, taking a more twisty route than it seemed the mostly clear road asked for, until she reached a large bush. Pulling it aside, she exposed a pile of smashed and broken bones.
About what I expected. Looks like they don't like to have visitors around these parts. This road is mined.
Landmines.
Well, don't that beat all? So what now?
Yeah, I can sniff 'em out, so y'all can sidestep 'em. Don't want to go waking every dang creature between here and Nashville, neither. I'll bring you over one at a time, but be careful with that there Brahmin.
The prospect of crossing a stretch of road full of mines was daunting, to say the least, but when Red showed them even more scattered in and around the trees on either side, the Baileys chose the path of least resistance, or, well, the least mines anyway. Red took JD through first, pointing out the filled-in holes and telltale signs of the buried mines. Whoever had placed them in the first place had done a good job. The average wasteland creature or traveler would have just wandered down the road and been blown up for their trouble. Coming back, Red would ferry the twins next, eager to get them across and out of harm's way. Settling Riley on her shoulders, Red walked back across, though not without distraction.
Wow, these horns are so cool.
Ouch! Please don't pull on them so hard. Would you, darling?
Riley stopped pulling, but that didn't keep her from continuing to ask 1,000 questions in the time it took Red to bring her back across the road. On the next trip, Quinn wasn't much better, though the young boy didn't pull quite so hard as his sister, though he did ask if Red had ever eaten anyone before.
Beg your pardon?
Just wanted to know is all. I mean, those teeth. Seems like you'd be able to eat anything, right?
Darling, of all the things you could ask, people are not on Red's menu. No way, no how.
It was hard to tell if Quinn was disappointed by Red's response or unhappy that his short trip across the road was over. She escorted Buck and Darlene without trouble, then finally Clayton and Amos, who brought the Brahmin across. It wasn't easy by any stretch, as the two-headed beast decided, square in between two mines, that it sorely needed to get some nice leaves from the side of the road. It was only by Clayton and Red pulling as hard as they could, with Amos pushing from behind, that they finally convinced the Brahmin to move forward, instead of taking one more step to the right and ending up in several pieces. When everyone was over to the other side, Red did a quick check and couldn't find any more mines or traps on this side of the road. JD and Buck had corralled the twins, while Darlene looked back at the stretch of road they'd passed.
Traps for unsuspecting travelers, like us.
By the looks of it, I suspect it was those bears, or something worse, that those there mines were meant for. Can't see many folks like us trying to traverse through these parts.
Well, it's still a bit inhospitable to try and blow up anyone that happens on by.
Rule of the wasteland, darling. Explode first, question later.
And I can see why.
What's that now, Amos?
Just up ahead. Y'all gotta see this.
Gathered together, Red limping along with them, the Baileys walked a few hundred feet further down the road and into the open. As the trees parted, they found themselves on a small ridge overlooking what might have been mistaken for a fort right out of the Old West. Nestled in the valley, the Blue Heron mining colony was now a fortified outpost. Wooden walls, built from timber cut from the surrounding forest, rose nearly 20 feet high, with lookout posts on all four corners. A thin column of smoke rose from behind the walls and beyond. Near a small river running along the bottom of the valley, Red saw figures washing clothes, while others were working a series of garden plots.
Well, I'll be. Looks downright hospitable in the middle of all this mess.
Out in the open, the group had finally been spotted. A flare rose into the air, fired from one of the watchtowers. The people on the riverbank turned and ran back towards the settlement. It sounded like their appearance had raised quite the hornet's nest behind the wall.
Red, you might want to, cover up.
Damn, darling. Fair point. We're probably in enough trouble without those folks seeing my extras and all.
Pulling the hood back over her head, Red and the others watched as heads started to appear over the walls, followed by rifles pointed in their direction.
Suspect now would be a good time to show these folks we mean them no harm. Come on, everyone, put their hands up.
Agreed. They haven't started shooting yet. Best we don't give them a reason to, huh?
Riley, Quinn, don't you even think about stirring up any trouble. This here ain't no game, got it?
I've got him, Ma. Come on, you two. Hands up.
With Buck corralling the little ones and everyone else raising their hands, they hoped it would be reassuring enough for those behind the walls. J.D. leaned over and whispered to Red.
What happens if they ain't friendly?
If it comes to that, and I hope it don't, darling, you protect the little ones, no matter what. So go ahead, put on your best smile. I think we're about to have some company.
The settlement gate swung open, and what passed for a welcoming committee, hostile or otherwise, emerged from the interior. There were an even dozen of them, men and women. Some dressed up in what were probably old mining uniforms, while others looked like park rangers, and all wore pieces of homemade leather armor. Seeing a variety of rifles and pistols among them, Red kept a close eye as they approached, watching for any sign of ill intent.
By the looks of them, I don't know who's more surprised.
Hush, Clay. Hello there. We're just, passing through.
The approaching group hesitated for a moment before one stepped forward, a woman bearing one of the park ranger uniforms and a wide-brimmed hat.
Y'all don't look like Reavers.
Hearing the name, Red nearly dropped her hands, wanting to reach for old Percy, but managed to stop herself, keeping a smile on her face for the sake of the Baileys.
Don't know about no Reavers, Miss,
It's Ranger McGraw. And you folks are trespassing in my forest.
Your forest?
It ain't what it used to be, but it's ours. So, if you kindly turn around and go back the way you came...
Ranger, or whatever, we've been through hell and back already. For the sake of the kids, all we want to do is get south. And we didn't mean to trespass. But we're here now, and we can't go back. Not through that.
Pardon my wife, please.
Well, don't you dare pardon anything, Clay. I've been up to my eyeballs in Wendy What's-It-Nows and flaming bears and exploding moonshine. All I want is one set of folks not aiming to kill me, you, the kids, your damn grandpappy, and Red over there. Is that really too much to ask?
Definitely not Reavers. And if you got past all that, and our minds, you'll need to tell me how you managed that, because I swear we've had plenty of practice hiding them.
We'd be happy to lay out the whole story, darling. All I ask is a place to rest up, maybe top off our provisions, and directions on the best way to get out of this here forest to point south.
Stephanie, remember what happened last time?
How many times I got to tell you, Leonard, it's Ranger McGraw in front of strangers? My sincerest apologies, folks, but Ranger Smith has raised a real good point. Our experience with strangers has been less than ideal, and in some cases, downright inhospitable.
We ain't most strangers, Ranger. Just a family trying to make its way.
Well, then you best get on your way. We got problems of our own, you know.
Leonard! Ranger Smith, please mind your P's and Q's. It's not that we don't want to help, but charity ain't cheap. Not when we got other mouths to feed, a forest full of things trying to eat us, and one damn busted generator to boot.
Nothing is free in the wasteland, darling. And I'd never ask or accept no handout, not without paying the debt I owed. Just like my pa used to say, trade makes this world go round.
Trade? Y'all don't look like you're particularly flush with anything that could do us a lick of good.
It ain't always about goods, but lending a helping hand there, darling. We done burned up a heap of those bears out there and put down a pack of wendigos, too. Otherwise, we wouldn't have even made it this far.
Well, that's all well and good. Not to mention a fair bit impressive, but still.
Yeah, you said your generator was busted, right?
I did.
Well, it just so happens that I'm a pretty good mechanic. I'd be happy to take a look and see what I could do for you. I figure getting your generator back up and running would be worth something to you, right?
You're not wrong. That generator keeps the water purifiers going and our turrets up and running. Y'all hold on a minute.
Ranger McGraw turned and huddled with the others. Red could only catch snippets of their whispered conversation. The word Reavers came up several times, and each word sent another shiver down her spine. There was something else going on here, and Red planned to keep her eyes open in case this was all one big trap. Finally, the head ranger lifted her head while the others all nodded.
All right. Maybe y'all have something we need after all. No promises, but we'll let you in and you can take a look. But no funny business. And you'll be turning over those weapons while you're our guests.
You want our guns?
Nothing personal, young man, but we don't allow armed strangers in our settlement. We're taking a big risk letting you in at all. And you'll need to follow the rules. I promise, as soon as you're ready to leave, you'll get them all back and be on your way.
That does seem fair, Ranger.
Don't thank me yet. This is a trade. Nothing more, nothing less. We're not gonna be friends, and we sure aren't family. We protect our own, and I expect you'll be on your way as soon as our business is done. You got it?
Yes, ma'am. You'll get no trouble from us, I assure you of that.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
What did I tell you, Leonard? I mean, Ranger Smith. As for you all, it ain't that we don't like folks. It's just that the wasteland don't tend to send us its best, if you catch my meaning.
Darling, story of my life right there.
Time's a-wasting, as they say. Come on, folks, follow us. Stay on the path, because those mines back there weren't the only surprises left out for uninvited guests.
As they all turned and proceeded down the old road towards the wooden gate, the Baileys exchanged nervous glances and gingerly walked behind them, prompting a chuckle from the Rangers. As they passed into the settlement, Red gave an appreciative whistle as she surveyed the area.
Welcome to Blue Haven. Ranger Smith will take those weapons now and show you where you can get settled. I'll be back in an hour to bring you over to the generator.
The old mining exhibit, which must have been quite the sight in its heyday, was perhaps even more impressive now. The original structures had all been repurposed and now constituted a bustling settlement as folks walked to and fro. Some carried baskets of food as they shopped along a half-dozen outside stalls, while a line of dusty-faced workers slowly trudged down a set of railroad tracks toward the entrance to the Blue Haven mine.
Like she said, time to turn over those weapons of yours.
The Baileys turned over their guns, and Red, only with the utmost reluctance, surrendered Old Percy, but not before extracting a solemn vow from the ranger that they'd treat the rifle with the appropriate amount of courtesy and respect. By the time they'd finished, a small crowd had gathered to watch the newcomers. Red felt an odd mixture of fear and hope coming from the crowd, and much like herself, she knew that plenty in the wasteland was not what it appeared, She leaned over and whispered to J.D.
Darling, keep your eyes wide open. Like my Uncle Remus used to say, even the nicest rose has its thorns.
Ever get so lost in your favorite game that the day slips by unnoticed? Do you need audio dramas and gaming pods to get you through the day till you can jump back in game? You're not alone. I'm inviting you to join me as we dive into a world of immersive lore and gameplay on my shows The Fallout Feed, Starfield Lorecast, and Dames Who Game, plus all the shows we do on the ASA Podcasting Network. On the Fallout Feed, we celebrate the world of Fallout and occasionally other RPGs, where rad roaches are far from the only bugs you'll encounter, and there's always a new way to tackle a quest. For Starfield fans, join me on the Lorecast. And on Dames Who Game, join me and my girls as we mix games, nerdy media, makeup, and our latest obsessions. With these and other shows at ASA Podcasting, we believe the best way to experience a game is to dive deep. Find us wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, you name it. ASA Podcasting, your next adventure starts here.
Red and the Baileys had been led through the Blue Haven settlement to a small building next to the town's water tower. It was once part of the old museum exhibit, housing various mining implements and photographs from the days of yore. But now it had been repurposed as a bunkhouse.
Definitely not the deluxe accommodations.
Now, beggars can't be choosers, Darlene.
Hell, I'll take anywhere folks ain't trying to shoot or eat us.
Beds, a wood stove, and even some toys for the twins? I'd say it could be a lot worse.
Red stood at the open door, looking out into the settlement. They weren't prisoners, but she eyed the two rangers not more than a few dozen feet away, trying to look all inconspicuous-like, but making a poor show of it.
Standing out like a sore thumb, more like it.
Yeah, they weren't exactly prisoners, but they weren't free to go, neither. As far as Blue Haven went, Red figured she and that Ranger McGraw wanted the same thing, to get them out of there as quickly as possible.
It's not that I don't trust him, but I definitely am a mite weary.
Red was still trying to put two and two together. Just the mention of the Reavers wasn't a good sign, especially with the word from that there cook that the gang was spreading far and wide across old Tennessee.
But these folks need a rest. And Red, y'all know you need it too. Just 'cause you got extras don't mean you don't need some decent shut-off.
Truth was, Red was running on empty, and if she was feeling it, she could only imagine what the Baileys were feeling. They were good folks, reminded her a bit too much of her kin for her liking, but a deal was a deal.
Red, you okay?
Fine, darling. Just tired is all.
We all are, but we'd be a sight worse if it wasn't for you. You think we're okay here?
Darling, like I said before, y'all need to learn to have eyes in the back of your head. But, for right now, let's get some rest. Figure they'll be looking for your pa and his mechanical skills before too long.
Even the terrible twins had finally run themselves ragged and were curled up together on one of the bunks, next to their brother Buck, who didn't look to be too far behind them.
I guess you're right.
The young man stretched and walked back to where the adults were making their own sleeping arrangements. As they lay down one by one, Red sat down in the doorway and rested against the frame, pulling her hood tight over her extras. Red didn't quite realize how tired she truly was. Her head slumped forward and she fell into a deep sleep almost the moment she closed her eyes.
Red. Hey, Red.
Red opened her eyes with a start and reached for old Percy, before remembering her beloved rifle had been taken away.
Ooh, boy. You don't snore like no youngin' there, missy.
Red scrambled to stand up, making sure her hood was still covering her extras, and found herself face to face with the ranger and two other men dressed in old miner uniforms.
Me snore? Darling, that just cannot be.
Red, you do. When Amos gets on a tear, he can snore so loud it's like a storm coming in for the night. But I swear, you give him a run for his caps. Whew.
Wait, I mean, I didn't wake y'all, did I?
Well, the ranger here just about needed to use dynamite to get me off of that bunk over there. Everyone else, well, I think the Lord Almighty would have had a hard time rousing them up from their slumber.
By the looks of it, y'all have been through the ringer. Best they rest up. We only need the two of you anyhow.
Me? I'm not much for all those mechanical gizmos.
Like I said before, we haven't run across many folks with an eye for our traps. I just want to know more about how you spotted them, so we can do better next time.
I think that's fair, Red. I mean, I'm sure there's something you can share.
Clayton gave Red a knowing look. She didn't know what had been said while she was still asleep, but the young woman got the feeling that the ranger wasn't exactly asking. But she was at least trying to be polite about it.
Yes, I see your point there, darling, given what we've seen out there.
You haven't seen the half of it. These walls ain't for show. But, come on. Let's see what you can do.
Red picked up her pack, slinging it over her shoulder before following Clayton and the ranger down and back out into the settlement. Plenty of folks continued to stare as they walked, but a glance from McGraw was enough to send them on their way.
It has been a while since we've had any strangers on this side of the wall. Suppose you're wondering what we're all doing here, right?
The thought had crossed our minds.
I mean, it's such a garden spot, right? The Dead Boone Forest. Quite the name. I remember back when it was all green, tourists, deer, and wolves, and a steady paycheck.
You were here before the bombs, darling?
All of us were. You can't see it from here, but I had a nice ranger post, not a few miles from this spot. I'd spend my nights looking over the lush greenery, listening to the music of the forest. Ranger Smith, well, he manned the old fire lookout just over on that ridge.
And the others?
Museum employees, reenactors, tourists, folks who just happened to be passing through when the bombs dropped. All we knew were the flashes we saw on the horizon and snippets of radio traffic from Point South. Had a couple of university folks here, professors who got us all together and into the mine until the rad clouds passed by.
Darling, I can't even imagine.
Wasn't pretty, that's for sure. The forest turned pretty quick, too. Lost a lot of good folks. But we carved out a little space here. And from what we've heard, it ain't better anywhere else. Anyone who went out, well, they never came back.
So you built the wall, but the landmines, where did those come from?
Some years back, folks were out hunting and stumbled on an old military convoy. Wasn't no one around. Figured they just jumped out and left when the bombs dropped. Found plenty of ammo and those mines, plus the turrets you see up there on the walls. Really helped out at a bad time for us. Sometimes you get lucky, I guess.
The ranger walked them through the rest of the settlement. The people had spent years turning what had been a run-down tourist attraction into the best approximation of a real town they could. There were plenty of kids running around, playing tag or catch, while the adults went about all manner of business. Ranger McGraw pointed out buildings of interest, including their blacksmith shop, artisan's corner, the communal dining hall, a schoolhouse, and even a town hall. Every single one of them used to be part of the exhibition, and the very tools and machines once on display had been put to good use in reopening the old mine, where they still dug for coal and other resources necessary to keep their town going.
But it's the dang generator that's been giving us fits. It was installed just before the war. One of those new fusion kinds. Our professors maybe weren't what you'd call rugged, but they could use a slide rule like nobody's business. We all knew the fuel ain't gonna last forever, but the brains figured that with as little power as we use, it'll keep things running long after all of us have been put in the ground.
So what's the problem?
Well, I'm hoping you could tell us. See, those smart folks, well, they passed away a few years ago and never quite managed to pass on their more technical learning. We know the basics, like how to turn it on and such, but the power's just been all squirrely the past few weeks. Sometimes it cuts out altogether, and that ain't good at all.
I'll definitely need to take a look. Just so happens I know a thing or two about fusion generators. There was one next town over I used to work on before we had to leave for Point South.
Then you might actually have some idea on how to fix it? All right, the generator's right on over here.
Clayton followed the ranger around a series of tool sheds, while Red kept a few feet behind. She had that funny feeling again, but couldn't quite figure out what was the cause. As they got closer, Clayton could hear the hum of the fusion generator, and he could already tell something was wrong.
It sounds off, that's for sure.
Like I said, it's been like that for the last few weeks.
Turning the corner, they found themselves in front of the generator. It was the first time Red had had occasion to see one this close. It looked like the Rangers had tried their hands at fixing whatever was wrong, as several toolboxes were laid out in front of the generator.
I guess I better get to work then.
Clayton rubbed his hands together and walked over to the generator. The large unit was powered by fusion cores, one of the ones that had only just begun to be mass-produced right before the war. Those settlements and factions which still had functional ones definitely had the distinct advantage of abundant and reliable power, as long as the fusion cores held out.
Let's see. Well, your fusion core looks intact, though it might be cracked. Though if that was the case, you probably had noticed, with folks dropping dead from all the rat poisoning, right? Well, time to open her up and find the problem for y'all.
Grabbing a wrench, Clayton went to work. With a measured hand, he loosened the bolts and was soon examining the inside of the generator. Ranger McGraw just stood back, watching with crossed arms.
So, darling, you had some questions for little old me?
I did. Those mines weren't easy to spot. They've had to be. But you saw the other traps too, didn't you?
The ones among the trees, darling? Yeah. I figured if someone managed to spot those dang mines, they'd go off the road, right into something worse.
Spike traps, lures, a few big pits. Like I said, we've had a long time to figure out how to keep us safe. So how did you do it?
Let's just say I got plenty of experience.
Experience, huh?
The ranger gave Red a look she couldn't quite place, but they were interrupted by Clayton pulling himself out of the guts of the generator.
Whoa! Looks like I found y'all's problem. Since the core was fine, I figured it had to be down in the turbine. Guess what? I was right. The bearings are all worn to hell. It's been grinding metal on metal for a while now. Only a matter of time before it started seizing up.
You sure?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I seen similar. Ain't exactly an easy fix, but if y'all got the parts, then I can get it back in shape quick enough.
Ranger McGraw let out a sigh of relief.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And it confirms what we already knew.
I thought you had said,
The ranger's stance shifted, and the hand that had been on her holster now held a pistol, pointed directly at Clayton. Before either Clayton or Red could react, a group of armed rangers and miners appeared at the end of the alleyway.
What is this, darling? We had a deal.
Ranger McGraw frowned.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to change the terms of our arrangement. See, I needed to know if Clayton here could fix our generator.
I can, I swear.
Well, I believe you. I do. Problem is, we don't have the parts.
What do you mean, y'all don't have the parts?
We got spares for almost everything basic. All the gear that was part of the exhibits, but nothing like this. And without the generator, well, things will get real bad here real fast. But I know where we can get some.
Then, darling, why the heck aren't you out there getting them?
You don't think we haven't tried? You know what it's like out there, and we've lost good people already. Since you seem to have a knack for sidestepping danger, or from what you said about Wendigos, dealing with it if you don't, you're going to get those parts for us.
And me? My family? What happens to us?
Nothing, as long as Red brings us back those parts. And you get this generator squared. Ranger Smith is making sure the others are just fine. He and a few others will be watching over them.
If you hurt one hair on their heads...
I know how this looks, and if we had any other choice...
Darling, did you think to just try asking?
I didn't fall off the potato truck yesterday, little lady, and we just couldn't afford a no. It's my job to protect these folks by any means necessary.
I heard that before.
I'm not going to argue with you because time is a-wasting, and the sooner we get all this done, the sooner you can be hell and gone from here.
Red, I...
Darling, I don't like it any better than you. But the ranger here ain't giving either of us much of a choice.
Red turned to look at Ranger McGraw. Even with the hood and goggles, the set of her mouth made her anger clear.
Y'all broke one promise already. Don't even think of breaking another one. I'll get you damn parts, but if anything happens, anything at all, that doesn't get us back on the road in one piece, it'll be the last thing you ever do.
McGraw felt the cold chill go down her spine. She hated herself for having taken such drastic action. These folks seemed nice and all, and with Red, she was clearly playing a dangerous game with a dangerous individual. But they weren't the only ones who didn't have a choice in the matter.
All right. Clayton, my men will take you back to your family. Until the parts get here, you can rest, eat, and whatever else keeps everyone calm and safe. Red, come to my office, and I'll show you where you're going. Sure won't be easy, but given you've got this far and past our traps, I think you're just the person we need.
The ranger motioned for her men, and soon Clayton was on his way back to his family, while Red was limping along, McGraw trailing behind with her pistol at her side.
Another dang bump in the road. So, just where in the Sam Hill are you sending me?
An old ranger station north of here, in a place called the Devil's Jump.
Well, ain't that grand. Frying pan, fire, and now hell itself.
There are no straight lines in the wasteland, and no good deed goes unpunished. As Red entered the ranger's office, she remembered what her crazy Uncle Remus had said about a rock in a hard place, and she thought about the Baileys. None of this was their fault, and even while others might do someone dirty, as far as she was concerned, a deal was a deal. And that was a promise that Red herself would never break. Ever.
Once upon a time, 27 years after the bombs fell, there were two people, a vault dweller and a California girl. They met and sparks flew. That's when things got interesting. Once Upon a Wasteland is their story. Follow Elizabeth Kirby and Odessa Valdez as they pursue their happily ever after in the post-apocalyptic Appalachian wasteland of Fallout 76. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and many other podcasting platforms. Once Upon a Wasteland, a Fallout 76 love story. Available now.
Thank you all for joining us for our latest episode of the Ballad of Trader Red. You can learn more about our story, both the original Modus Files tale of the fate of Appalachia and the Ballad of Trader Red on our website, themodusfiles.com, or follow us on our various social media platforms, including Blue Sky and Instagram, @ModusFiles and @ModusFiles Podcast, or join our Discord. A link is included on our website. If you'd like to support us directly, you can also join our Patreon, where members receive special benefits like early access to episodes, special behind-the-scenes interactions with our cast, and read original drafts of our scripts. We'd also like to thank our cast, Chrissy Williams as Trader Red, Alicia Oliver as Darlene, Joel Butler as Amos, Jeremy Tucker as Clayton, Preston Harden as JD, Henry McNamara as Buck, Griffin Williams as Quinn, Lydia Atherton as Riley, Mark Bartlett as Ranger Smith, Corey Alexander as Ranger McGraw, and Pandora Beatrix as our narrator. Lastly, thank you to all of our subscribers and supporters. It's a wild wasteland out there, and we're just getting started. Stay tuned for our next episode of The Ballad of Trader Red, The Devil's Jump.